Way of Shadows by Brent Weeks, Chapter 35. Kyler ran, but doubt ran faster. The sky was lightening in the east, and the city was showing its first signs of life. The odds of running into a patrol were small, especially because Kyler knew better than to run on the roads past the rich shops that somehow saw patrols more frequently than roads with poor shops. But if he did run into guards, what would he say? I was just out for a morning walk with dark gray clothes, illegal plants, a small arsenal, and my face smudged with ash? Right. He slowed to a walk. Mama Kay's wasn't far now. What was he doing? Obeying a madman and a giant? He could almost see the ver rising from Dorian's arms, and it turned his stomach. Maybe not a madman, but what was their pride? What was their peace? The only people Kyler knew who did things just because they should were the Drakes, and he figured that they were the exception to the rule. In the Sakage, in the court, in the real world, people did what was best for themselves. Fear and Dorian hadn't denied that they had other motives for coming to Sonaria. But they certainly acted like he was the most important thing. They'd acted like they really believed he would change the course of the kingdom. It was madness, but he had believed them. If they were just liars, wouldn't they try to tell him how great things would be if he killed Blint? Or were they just that much cleverer than most liars? It seemed that by what Dorian had said, that Kyler was going to lose everything no matter what he did. What kind of fortune teller told you that? Still, Kyler found himself jogging again and then running, startling a laundress filling her buckets with water. He stopped at Mama Kay's door and suddenly felt uneasy again. Mama Kay stayed up late and woke early every day, but if there was one time of day that he could be sure she would be in bed, it was right now. It was the only time of day that the door would be locked. Damn it, would you just make a decision? Kyler rapped on the door quietly, berating himself for being a coward, yet deciding all the same that he would leave if no one answered it. The door opened almost immediately. Mama Kay's maid looked almost as surprised as Kyler was. She was an old woman, wearing a shift with a shawl around her shoulders. Well, good morning, my lord. If you aren't a sight. Couldn't sleep. I just kept on thinking that we'd run out of flour for some reason. Though I checked it just last night. For some reason I couldn't get it out of my mind that it would all gone. I was just walking past the door to check it out when you knocked. Oh, by the 12 nipples of Exuria. I'm chattering like a daft old ninny. Kyler opened his mouth, but a word wouldn't fit in the cracks of the ex-prostitute's rambling, edgewise or any way. Time for a swift blow to the head and heave into the river, mistress, I tell her, and she just laughs at me. I do wish I were young, if only so I could see the look on your face like I used to get. Once these old sacks would make men stand up and take notice. You'd walk right into a wall because you couldn't take your eyes off. It used to be that the sight of me in my night clothes, of course, I didn't wear old ladies' rags like this, neither. But if I wore the kind of stuff I used to, I'm afraid I'd scare the children. It does make me miss the... Is Mama Kay awake? What? Oh, actually, I think so. She hasn't been sleeping well, poor girl. Maybe a visit will do her good, though I think it was a visit from that Durzo that's got her knickers up in such a bunch. It's hard at her age, going from what she's been to being like me. Almost 50 years old she is. It reminds me. Kyler edged past her and walked up the stairs. He wasn't even sure the old woman noticed. He knocked and waited. No response. A sliver of light peeked through the crack around the sill, though, so he opened the door. Mama Kay sat with her back to him, 2 candles burning almost to nubs, providing the only illumination in the room. She barely stirred when Kyler came in. Finally, she turned slowly toward him. Her eyes were swollen and red, as if she'd been up all night crying. Crying? Mama Kay? Mama Kay. Mama Kay, you look like hell. You always did know just the thing to say to the ladies. Kyler stepped into the room and closed the door. It was then he noticed the mirrors. Mama Kay's bedside mirror, where she put on her makeup, her hand mirror, even her full-length mirror. Every one of them was smashed. Shards of twinkled feebly from the floor in the candlelight. Mama Kay, what's going on in here? Don't call me that. Don't ever call me that again. What's going on? Lies, Kyler, she said, looking down at her lap, her face half concealed in the shadows. Beautiful lies. Lies I've worn so long I don't remember what's beneath them. She turned. In a line down the middle of her face, she'd wiped off all of her makeup. The left half of her face was free of cosmetics for the first time Kyler had ever seen. It made her look old and haggard. Fine wrinkles danced across the once delicate, now merely small and hard, planes of Guinevere Carina's face. Dark circles under her eyes gave her a ghostly vulnerability. The effect of half of her face being perfectly presented and the other half stripped was ludicrous, ugly, almost comic. Kyler covered his shock so slowly, not that he could ever hide much from her, but Mama Kay seemed satisfied to be wounded. I'll assume you're not here just to stare at the sideshow freak. So what do you want, Kyler? You're not a sideshow. Answer the question. I know what a man with a mission looks like. You're here for my help. What do you need? Mama Kay, damn it, quit. No. Damn you. Mama Kay's voice cracked like a whip. Then her mismatched eyes softened and looked beyond Kyler. It's too late. I chose this. Damn him. But he was right. I chose this life, Kyler. I've chosen every step. It's no good switching horrors in the middle of the tumble. You're here about Durzo, aren't you? Kyler knuckled his forehead, put off track. He could read the look on her face, though. It was discussion over. Kyler surrendered. Was he here about Durzo? Well, it was as good of a place to start as any. He said he's going to kill me if I don't find the silver Kakari. I don't really even know what it is. She took a deep breath. I've been trying to get him to tell you for years, she said. 6 Kakari were made for Jorson Alcestis, 6 champions. The people who used the Kakari weren't mages, but the Kakari gave them mage-like powers. Not like the feeble mages of today, either. The mages of 7 centuries ago. You are what they were. You're a Kakarifer. You were born with a hole in your talent that only a Kakari can bridge. Mama Kay and Durzo had known all of this, and they hadn't thought to tell him? Oh, well, thanks. Can you direct me to the nearest magical artifact store? Perhaps one with a discount for wet boys, Kyler asked. Even if there were such things, they've either been collected by the mages, or they're at the bottom of the ocean or something. Or something. Are you saying you know where the silver is? Consider this, Mama Kay said. You're a king. You managed to get a Kakari, but you can't use it. Maybe you don't have anyone you trust who can. What do? You keep it for a rainy day, or for your heirs. Maybe you never write down what it is because you know that people will go through your things when you die and steal your most valuable possession. So you plan to tell your son someday before he takes the throne. In some way or another, though, as kings so often do, you get yourself killed before you can have the talk. What happens to the Kakari? Well, the son gets it. Right, and doesn't know what it is. Maybe even knows it's important, that it's magical, but like you said, if he ever tells the mages, they'll take it from him, or from his heirs sooner or later. So he keeps it, and he keeps it secret. After enough generations pass, it becomes just another jewel in the royal treasury. By the time 700 years go by, it's switched hands dozens of times, but no one has a clue what it is. Until one day, Calidor's God King demands a tribute that includes one particular jewel, and a remarkably stupid king gives the very same jewel to his mistress. You mean, Tyler said, I just found out today that Niner gave Lady Jadwin the silver Kakari, the globe of edges. It looks like a small, oddly metallic jewel, like a diamond with a silver tint to it. It also happens to be one of King Nalia's favorite jewels. She thinks it's lost, and she's furious. So tomorrow night, someone the king trusts, I don't know who, will be sent to get it back. The Jadwins are having a party that night, so tomorrow the Kakari will be exposed. No royal guards, no mages, no magically warded treasury. Lady Jadwin will either be carrying it, or it will be in her room. Kyler, you need to understand what's at stake. The Kakari supposedly chose their own masters, but the Caledonians believe they can magically force a bond. If the God King succeeds, imagine the havoc a God King would wreak if he could live forever. It made prickles go up the back of Kyler's scalp. You really mean this, don't you? Have you told Durzo? Durzo and I'm not too inclined to help Durzo just now. But there's more, Kyler. I'm not the only one who knows this. Anguish twisted her features, and she looked away. What do you mean? Kyler has hired someone to get it. That's how my spies found out in the first place. Supposedly the job is a smash and dash. Supposedly? They've hired Hugh Gibbet. Nobody would hire Hugh for a smash and dash. The man's a butcher. I know, Mama Kay said. Then who's his debtor? Take your pick. Half the nobles in the realm will be there. Your friend Logan has accepted his invitation. Perhaps even the prince will be there. Those two do seem to be inseparable, for all that they are night and day to each other. Mama, who's your spy? Can you get me an invitation? She smiled mysteriously. My spy can't help you, but I know someone who can. In fact, despite my best efforts, you know her, too.